to Facts and Fictions, the Cozy Book Club podcast where we talk about the books we're reading and the thoughts they evoke. My name's Morgan.
My name's Desiree, and this week we are talking about Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is one that, fun fact, was our first book in our book club, our two-person book club, at which we started over a year ago, and we're just now starting the podcast, but we've actually had our two-person book club for over a year now.
Yes, we've got a lot of books under our belt that we need to go back and revisit, so it's kind of exciting to go back to that very first one.
A brief synopsis of Happy Place. This book follows Harriet and Wyn, who secretly broke up a few months ago, but are meeting each other at the yearly vacation that they go on with a group of their friends. And they end up pretending that they are still together because they had not yet told their friends that they'd split up. And everything kind of unfolds from there. It's a group of 6 friends, Harriet and Wyn, Sabrina and Parth, who are together, and then Cleo and Kimmy, who are together. And Kimmy was not really a part of the original group, but Cleo brought her in because that's her partner. So they kind of navigate old memories, unresolved feelings, and all in the setting of this remote Maine cottage that is owned by Sabrina's family. They do find out that this is their last time there because the family has decided to sell the cottage. So, did I miss anything?
No, I think you should kind of cover all of that. So, the two big tropes we're kind of experiencing with this book are first, the pretend dating, or I guess pretend engagement in this case.
Yes.
And then the second chance romance. So, I don't always love second chance romance, but I think she did a good job.
Yeah.
I'm just a cynic. I'm if he said goodbye, keep it that way.
Yeah. Because Wyn is the one who broke it off with Harriet.
And it was a very complicated situation. It wasn't just oh, my feelings aren't there anymore. There were a million little pieces that went into it, and a very trying time in his life. So I try not to fault him too much.
Yeah. And I guess a little bit about Harriet. She is a surgical resident and is kind of thinking about whether that's how she wants to spend her life.
Yeah.
So she's going through it personally. Wyn is also going through it personally. He's dealing with some family things and not feeling like he's enough.
Yeah, and are long distance at this point. So she's in California with her residency, and he's in Montana with his family.
Yeah. Which, again, I don't think anyone knows that part either, that they are that's separate, right?
I think I recall them not knowing.
Okay. Wyn wants Harriet in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole other thing as well.
And it's just not a possibility because she is in her residency program, which, those are very demanding.
And so this yearly trip that they do, Sabrina's family owns the place that they go, and it's an opportunity for them to reconnect year after year. It's something they do every single year. And Harriet was not expecting Wyn to be there because they had agreed that Harriet would go and she would let them know that they've broken up and kind of have that conversation. However, when Harriet shows up to the vacation, Wyn is there, and Wyn is acting weird. He's pretending like everything's normal, as if they're together. So they get a second alone, and Wyn is like, hey, we need to pretend because this is a big weekend or a big week it's important for Sabrina and Parth that because this is the last time that everyone's together, she wants it to be perfect and doesn't want any drama happening throughout the week. So Harriet and Wyn agree that they're going to pretend that they're not broken up, that they're still engaged. And they end up in some compromising moments, and I think because they had been together for another note, I think they were dating for 8 years or something.
Yeah.
So this is not just a short-term relationship that had ended. They'd been together for 8 years. So when you're pretending, hugging and touching and talking as if you're a couple, I feel like it'd be very easy to end up in that mental space of wait.
Yeah, there's some muddy waters happening.
Wait, do we still belong together?
And they do talk about that too. They're when they were a couple, they were just so touchy-feely, always all over each other.
Yeah.
So they weren't like one of those chill couples where they could just like be civil to each other and nobody would know something was going on. Like if they aren't all over them each other, that's weird. That's like abnormal for those two as a couple.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people would pick up on immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like most couples it would be a little easier, but we all like know like that one or two couples who are that way.
Yeah.
Where it's like if they're not like climbing each other, you're like, wait, what's going on? Like, do you hate each other now?
Yeah. Or are you in a fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So rewind a little bit because I do feel like we need to touch on the breakup of Harriet and Wyn.
Mm-hmm.
Because before they arrived to this vacation, in months since they had really spoken, and they broke up when they were apart when they broke up. Wyn was in Montana because his father had passed away and his mother was not well, and so he stayed behind, did not return back to California with Harriet. So Harriet is living alone, and her entire life is sucked up by the surgical residency. I think everyone has an idea of how grueling, that type of profession is. So she's spending a lot of time, any free time she has, it's spent with her colleagues. And there's this colleague, Martin, who ends up trying to kiss her. And Harriet tells Parth about this. Or not tells Wyn. Tells Wyn about this. And that is what led to the breakup occurring.
Yeah, so I think he was already feeling very insecure about their relationship, feeling insecure about himself and just like the miles between them as well. And the different paths it felt like their lives were going on. So I think even though Harry was like very quick to call and be like, hey, this is what happened, that was just like the catalyst. He'd already had this building up inside him. He was able to use that as that monumental thing that's like, okay, now I can end this relationship. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it really had to do with the relationship. I think it had to do more with him and where his headspace was.
Yeah, because she didn't entertain the kiss.
No.
Yeah, she wasn't interested in him, and she didn't entertain the kiss, so it wasn't about that. But it was more just the last straw, kind of bringing it to the surface that they are not living their lives together at that point.
Yeah. And I feel like I can't imagine how difficult it would be to maintain a relationship with somebody in residency. Mm-hmm. So, like, I can get how there's already, like, that strain on there, and then you add distance on top of that.
Yeah.
You add a sick parent who just died.
And she is in a spot where she's probably not showing up for him emotionally when he most needs her. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a huge part of it, too, is him feeling like he's not enough, yes, but there's also that underlying of he's struggling and she's not there at all.
Yeah, they're both just like pouring from the emptiest cups you could possibly pour from. And I feel like in most relationship dynamics, when one person's cup's empty, the other person's got like at least a little bit something to give. And it doesn't seem like either of them had that capacity. And things just weren't working out. And
not being able to sit down and look each other in the face and kind of address it.
Yeah.
Since they're separated. So kind of super heavy, their breakup. And then fast forward, Harriet shows up and Wyn's there and she wasn't expecting it. That's a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I would just die.
Yeah. And none of her friends know. So, which that was crazy to me. I know she's wrapped up in her life, but for you to not tell any of your friends.
No. I feel like I would feel betrayed as a friend in that case. Like, I'd get like a week or two, like decompressed between months at this point.
Yeah,
months. You hadn't like found like 2 seconds to like give me a call. You want to be there for your friends, but your friends have to let you in.
Yeah,
so, like that would definitely be complicated. That's something I actually really liked about this book, though. It wasn't just a romance; it really delved into like the friendship dynamics as well. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I get a little like bored if it's like just focused on like the romance relationship, but focusing on the friendships I thought was kind of cool too.
Yeah,
you get so many different dynamics in one book. And I think she executed it well, where it didn't feel too muddy.
She did. And I feel like she also illustrated what it's like to have adult friendships because they're all in such different places. And I really liked the Cleo and Kimmy storyline. You didn't get to know a ton about them, but what she did let on was, I feel like, very relatable. They're in their own world, and they really haven't shared a ton about their life to their friends either, but they're not necessarily dying to because they're happy with their circumstances. And I think they feel like they want to protect themselves a little bit from judgment.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about them. But yeah, I really enjoyed all the friendships that she included in there.
I think sometimes authors have trouble balancing like that many main characters
Oh,
in
yeah.
a cohesive way. But if everything felt to me like all the storylines intertwined in a way that was enjoyable to read, it wasn't muddy, it wasn't confusing, and it strengthened the book. Whereas I think sometimes they throw in extra characters and it just like makes things feel kind of crumbly. But that wasn't the case here, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. I agree. Do you think that, because I feel like they got pretty far into pretending they were fine before people started picking up on things. But do you think if you were in Harriet's position, do you think you'd be able to do that?
No, absolutely.
I don't either.
I'm somebody who likes to slam the door shut and just like be done. If I'm done, I'm done. But I wouldn't have ever been in that situation because the second an engagement got called off, I would be calling you like, Desiree, I'm coming over. I don't care that I'm all the way across the country in California. I'm getting on a red eye. Like,
yeah, and because it wasn't just a relationship. They were engaged.
They were engaged in like such a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Like if it was just like a quick little like whirlwind romance and then they got engaged after like 6 months. Well, you see that happens sometimes and it works out. But if it was one of those and they called it off, it would feel very different.
Yeah.
But they spent like their entire 20s together into their 30s. And yeah, so I wouldn't be able to pretend. I would have never put myself in that position where I'd have had to though. But no, I wouldn't have. I would have been too cold towards them. I think I would go trying to like protect my emotions. So I wouldn't want to open myself up to anything that would stress me out or upset me.
And I feel like if I showed up expecting him to not be there and then he was there,
like, why didn't he tell me?
Oh, I would actually be so mad.
Like, where's the courtesy text?
Yeah. So that really would irritate me. I'd probably see red.
Yes. That's not something I would have felt okay with. I love that there are people who probably could pretend and pull it off. I love that for them. Something I enjoyed in it, the dual timeline. I do wish when they kept going, they did the flashbacks. I wish we got a little bit more of that because I thought she did a really good job kind of like just showing like how in love they were, but we didn't really see them fall in love. We saw them meet, then they were together, and then they were engaged. I wish we got a little more like detail or intimacy within like the early days because I thought those chapters were really good, but I do think they could have been better.
Yeah. I enjoyed the back and forth as well and kind of the backstory, but I really enjoyed them as characters, so I agree. I think I yearned for more detail.
Yeah, I would have wanted like a little bit more. Like it just felt kind of rushed to me, which she's trying to fit like 8 years in just like half of the chapter. So I get that's hard to do. But you could have made the book like 30 pages longer and I would have been happy just to get like a few more crumbs of like the early days of their relationship.
Yeah, I remember flying through this book as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good light read. I don't think it's overly emotional or mentally taxing. So
yeah, this was actually the book this time last year. I was trying to like train my attention span to start being able to like do audiobooks, which I love audiobooks now. So I listened to this book while I read it, and that was the first time I did that.
Are you transitioned to audiobook?
Not entirely, but like I can do an audiobook no problem now. Whereas like even back 6 months ago, it was like I'd lose focus.
That's how I am.
But now I do them while I do tasks. I can't like just sit and listen to an audiobook. Like I wouldn't be able to sit here and listen and do nothing else. But like while I clean, I always have my earbuds in while I'm driving. I'll listen to one on the radio or on the audio system. But I used to like just not be able to. My brain would go somewhere else. But I'd say officially trained.
Wow, I hope I can make it there someday.
I love it now.
Yeah, I've tried to do audiobooks. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure how to shut this thing up. Jake is texting me that TikTok is back up. So,
old news, Jake.
Today actually happens to be January 19th, which is a Sunday, and it's last night TikTok went dark. So, kind of a momentous day, but apparently it's back up now as we're recording, so we will check that out after.
Yes.
No, but I enjoy an audiobook, but I'm at the point too where my attention span can't handle it. So the way I've tried to work on it for myself, I will use an audiobook while I read physical book, and or I like a memoir on audiobook.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like memoirs, depending on the memoir, number one, I like it when the author of the book is reading the memoir. I feel like that makes me more engaged if I know the person and it's them telling their story. So I really do enjoy that. But I'd love to make it to a point where I can just listen to an audiobook without having to take 55 million breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm finally there. And I think November to now, like it is January, that's like where I really like healed whatever was in my brain that wouldn't let me. And now I can. And sometimes like if I do find myself losing focus, I'll play like this Tetris game on my phone while I listen.
Oh.
Like that keeps my brain busy in a way that's not distracting. So if I find myself like starting to like just like think about other things and try out the audiobook, like, okay, 10 minutes Tetris and then I'm back on track.
Any genres that you feel like are best on an audiobook or just in general?
I feel like I've been pretty expansive now. Right now I'm listening to The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie.
Oh,
and she reads that one. So like you're
Okay.
saying with like the author. That one's just like twice so far, not very far, but like her voice is cracked reading it. And then it's like, oh my gosh. And it's like hard because she just keeps sharing her personal story.
I would really like to listen to that one, but I'm not sure that I'm in the middle space right now.
Where I'm at now, it hasn't gotten too heavy.
Did you know a lot about that story?
I followed it really well
too.
And then like when I was younger, I watched some of their videos on YouTube. I never followed them though. There were other family bloggers I did follow, but I never followed them too close.
Gosh. Yeah, that's
okay. So just circling back, this was the book that I started to heal my inability to listen to audiobooks with. So I've got a warm feeling because of that.
Yeah.
First book club, first audiobook in a long time. We find out, have we already said that Sabrina and Parth, they're getting married at the end of the week?
No, I don't think we've talked about
Okay, yeah. So that's something that kind of comes up too and why they have to play nice and pretend they're together so they don't ruin this for like, it's kind of a downer at a wedding. Be like, oh yeah, just 2 days ago I found out you guys call off your engagement. Here we are getting married. So that's partially why they're like doing this facade. And so they go to pick up a cake together at a bakery. And while they're there, Harry confronts Wyn about text she saw about him being a furniture maker. And he kind of like starts talking about that because he was an engineer and now he's making high-end furniture and he's finding like a lot of success with it. And this is kind of where we see like him he's starting to find his happiness in Montana after all the heartbreak. Like he was happy there to be with his family, but now he's finding like his footing and it seems like it's a permanent stay for him. And so they talk about like their breakup and he was saying how at that point he just felt like he wasn't good enough for her and now he's, doing this like furniture making. He's feeling better. He's less depressed and he does still have feelings for her, but he still realizes it's not going to work because he needs to be in Montana. That's where he wants to be and she needs to be in California for her residency. So even though those feelings are still there, he's not sure he wants to get back together.
And I don't think he also is privy to everything that's been going on in Harriet's mind regarding her own path.
Yeah.
Too. I think she's kind of kept that close to her chest because she didn't want to burden him with her thoughts about that while he's been taking care of his mom who has been unwell.
Yeah.
So that's another kind of interesting part of that.
Yeah. So she's definitely not positive that the neurosurgery path she went down is the path she wants to follow the rest of her life just because it's like such a demanding field. And I think it takes a very specific type of person to be happy in that like type of field.
Mm-hmm. And she's not finding fulfillment in her day-to-day.
Yeah.
At all.
Which I feel like with residency, that's kind of like how they all feel, which that was like one thing that made me nervous about the end of the book. So she, like, first when you read this, she does end up leaving her residency program. And like, I've got a good friend, he's finishing his residency in June. And he's like straight up told me that the last 2 years have been the worst years of his life, the most depressed years of his life, like the least happiest years of his life because residency is so demanding, so stressful. He's like, but I know it's all going to be worth it because when you get out, that's when life gets good. And I feel like she's quitting before she even gets to experience like that life getting good portion because it's maybe she could have finished the residency and then tried for a year to be a neurosurgeon and then pivoted. But maybe like she knows so deeply that it's not right for her because I also relate to that because when I was in college, I was so deeply unhappy. I was studying speech language pathology, realized I didn't want to do that. I'd started doing like online marketing. I wanted to leave college. And I was 3 semesters out from graduating. But I knew in my bones it wasn't for me, so I ended up leaving. So I relate to her on that, but I also worry about her because just from what I've heard with like my friend in residency, nobody is happy in residency. It's not a happy, joyful, easy time. Everybody's depressed and stressed and overwhelmed and feels like they made a mistake. But you just know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas I feel like that's not the universal experience of college. A lot of people love college. I did not.
Yeah. I remember after reading this book, saying to you that I would highly not recommending this book to someone who is going through struggles of career building, because it's not one for the girls going through it and building their lives and trying to decide if this is right for them, because she does essentially give up on her dreams.
Yeah.
Well,
for what she's built her life.
Thought was,
yeah, you do like find out through the book a lot of what she's done is like for the approval of her parents. So it's like how much of this, it reminded me of like the meme, like you're giving up on your dream. It's like, no, Dad, I'm not giving up on yours. That's just like what I kept thinking.
That's exactly it. And she has a sister who is a hairdresser, I think. And her parents are, they tell her how proud they are of her because she has a very prestigious career path. However, she sees firsthand how they treat her sister regarding her career path of being a hairdresser. So she knows in the back of her head, if she abandons this career as a surgeon, what there is to come from her parents and their disapproval of that decision and what that would kind of mean for her relationship with them. So there's also that part of it too, battling. Does she just keep doing it, to keep the peace? Or, is she going to be brave enough to confront that discussion with her parents?
And I feel like a lot of people, like their parents' approval is like a drug for them. Like they need that to feel okay. There are people in my life who they are fully grown adults like we are, but they are still living with their parents' voice in the back of their head. And that just like makes me sad. Cause like, what would you have done with your life if you weren't so worried about what they think of you? And it's like, especially like the people, I'm trying to be vague, but like there are people who their parents are going to love them unconditionally, no matter what they do, even if like they have like just crash and burn career wise. So they're still not willing to go out on the risk because they still want their parents to be happy with them. And it's like, you don't have to do that. Like you can chase your dreams and that you will still have their love and approval. Not everybody has that.
Yeah.
But, got to give gentle encouragement and move on because it's not my place to tell people how to live their lives. But when I see it, it just does make me sad. I think there are so many adults just still feel like children in the inside and all they really want is like mom and dad to be okay with what they're doing.
When it means sadness and day-to-day dislike for themselves and what they have to go through to make that happen.
Yeah. It makes me sad. But I think it's a very relatable storyline.
Yes.
I can think of 6 different people that I know who it's like they're living their lives through the lens that their parents want them to be living through. It's not they're not doing what they want to be doing. It's just bummer.
But Harriet does not let that happen to her, and she abandons her career as a surgeon and moves back to Montana with Wyn.
Yeah. How much longer did she have in her residency? Do you remember?
It was not, I don't think it was long. Oh, another thing about kind of another part of the story was her student loan debt was brought up multiple times, and kind of her struggle with what leaving her residency would mean for her ability to pay back her student loan.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
It was brought up multiple times, which that's also again another important point to note, that is a huge part of it, because she's put so much money and taken out so many loans to be able to go on this path to be a surgeon. And if you abandon it, you don't have a clear path to paying back those loans. And in this day and age, that's a very scary thing.
Yeah, that's like something she'll be drowning in until the day she dies. I think it's implied like hopefully Wyn starts enough selling furniture And like, I hope he does too, but that's like pretty hefty to rely on that.
But it was, in the book, it was painted as the furniture he was making was luxury furniture. I mean, extremely, like, very in-depth, handcrafted. But people with a lot of money are seeking out the types of furniture that he's making. So if we're being, positive and optimistic, hopefully her student loans are paid off that way.
Yeah, I sure hope so, because all that would be just so scary and daunting.
Yeah.
That's like, it has to be hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, you're in residency, you finish medical school. Like,
yeah.
In residency, you make peanuts. Like,
Yeah.
You're not making money there.
I don't think she had much longer left.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. It's okay. We're not mad at you.
We're not mad. I think follow your heart is always the advice I would give anyone, but also like consult with your head a little bit more than it seemed like she did. I think she had this week-long whirlwind with her ex-fiance, and that brought up a lot of big feelings and a lot of big emotions, and choices were made that maybe weren't thought out as well as I would have liked them to be thought out. But that's me, and Harry is Harry, and she can do what she wants. And I'm not like judging her.
Yeah.
I'm just an anxious person with like such life-altering decisions.
Yeah.
Like, that's massive. It's everything she's worked for like the last decade.
Yeah.
And she's so close to like getting to the where it gets good. So maybe she could at least dipped her toe in the good part. That's my 2 cents. I don't want to be too judgy.
No, I think that because of how it would be almost impossible to re-enter that.
Yeah.
So to leave it and just walk away from it, I mean, it's huge. So I think your advice is smart.
So if you're watching this, considering leaving your residency, just like see it out. Be a doctor for like at least a month.
Yeah.
I guess residents are doctors. They just can't practice on their own. Be an independent, non-resident doctor for a month, because maybe you'll really like that better than residency. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I dropped out of college, so I'm not even somebody who's been in residency.
Oh gosh.
Maybe don't take my advice. You're doing a little better than I am.
To kind of wrap things up, this was the first Emily Henry book that we read. And I think we both enjoyed it because we did end up deciding to read a few of her other books. We read Funny Story pretty quickly after this book, which we do plan on doing an episode for Funny Story as well. And we read Book Lovers. We still have a couple more to read in her catalog. And then we are highly anticipating her release this year. It's called Great Big Beautiful Life, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that comes out in March or May or something like that. I have it on my calendar. But so we're pretty excited for that. Yeah, I think overall we really enjoyed this. It was just a light read and an enjoyable one.
Yeah, I really like Emily Henry. It's kind of like a palate cleanser because we do read a lot of heavy books together. And I feel like we accidentally do that, where we're going to read the 4 most depressing books I've ever read in a row. And it's like, okay, I need something lighthearted. And Emily is always there for that, which is wonderful. I hope she stays lighthearted with all of her future books. I'm going to be like so taken aback if we're ever reading something and like something horrible happens.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I pick up an Emily Henry book for, which she wants to. I'd love, I guess, for her to explore that genre. I just don't want to go on blind.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm happy that we have a couple books left of hers that we can sneak in there after some of our more depressing reads. That's what we have to look forward to, which is nice.
And if you're watching this or listening to this and you have any recommendation for other like palate cleanser authors, we are always looking for that, because we'll finish like reading the most heavy book and we'll be like, okay, we need something lighthearted next time. And then we end up picking something heavy again.
This always happens to us. Maybe it's a fault of ours. We're not researching enough, but we would really appreciate a list of even like authors, but also just specific books that you've read that cleanse your palate.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, we always have the intention of picking a book that's cleansing our palate, and maybe the book title sounds like one that would cleanse our palate.
Yeah, or the cover is like a little cutesy.
And then we're in the depths of despair so quickly. But I feel like we also are not really people who abandon books.
Yeah, my brain does not let me do not finish. I can for like a few weeks. I'm like, oh, I got to go back and finish that. I just, something in me I can't have things feel incomplete.
So we end up on like pretty long tears of sad books, and that's hard on our souls.
Yeah, we'll just like get together to talk about the book, and we're looking at each other like, oh my gosh, like where do we start?
Yes. So please share any palette cleanser authors and or books specifically.
Be much appreciated.
I think I rated this 4.75.
Okay, I think I did 4.5.
Yeah.
And I think some of that was just like the frustration for me with like, I don't love a second chance romance. It doesn't mean the book wasn't good. It's just that's like fundamentally something I usually recommend against.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to get like
in real life.
So excited about that.
Yeah. Also, something about my ratings, I just need everyone to know. My ratings, I'm very tuned in on the book itself. I'm not thinking about the ratings I've given other books. And I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah, it can also be like the mood you're in.
Yeah. We are mood readers, and I'm also a mood rater. Okay? So I'm sorry if my ratings are not consistent.
Yeah, I need to like hone in my process. There are some books I feel like I would recommend this book and I give it a 4.5.
Yeah.
And there are other books I give a 4.5 that I might not recommend.
Yeah. Now we have fan casts. This is one of our favorite parts of our discussions on the books, is doing a fan cast where we each select actors that would portray each main character of the book based on what our perception of each of the characters. And sometimes we're super in line and other times we're not. So it's always fun to see.
Yeah, we didn't share. You only told me one of yours.
Yes.
Or no, you told me two. So I know two of hers. I don't think she has any of mine.
Let's start off with Harriet. I picked, oh my God, why do I forget her name?
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah. I picked Jennifer Lawrence because I really like her as an actress, and Harriet is kind of described as like a plain beauty, like unassuming beauty. And yeah, she came to mind.
Perfect. I came in here so confident saying Maud Apatow, but then I couldn't find her physical description when I was doing the fan cast. But then you said the physical description, crossed Maud off, and now I was thinking Natalia Dyer.
Oh,
from Stranger Things.
Interesting.
So she'd have to go a little blonder.
Yeah. Next is Wyn, Harriet's ex-fiance. So this one, I went kind of rogue. And so Wyn, was a furniture maker, and I don't know why, but immediately I decided that I needed to cast the man on TikTok who chops wood.
It's like Thorin or something.
His name is Bradley Thor.
Oh, Bradley.
So I think Bradley Thor would be a great win. And I stand with that.
Love. I did Glenn Powell without much thought because that was just like what came to my brain. So I don't have a good reason, but he popped up and I said, yep, that's good.
He's kind of the man of the hour.
Yeah.
I feel like. So that's good. That's always a good one. Sabrina. I picked Sabrina Carpenter because I love her.
We love her. And it just makes sense. She's already Sabrina.
Yeah. And Sabrina in the book is a lawyer, and she's very polished and whatever. And I would love to see Sabrina act in that role.
Yeah. I did Sophia Ritchie Grange. And I wasn't sure if she was acting, but then in a recent interview, she said she would like to. So I said, okay, debut girlfriend.
Oh my gosh. You heard it here first. Yeah. Parth, I did Ian Harding. Ezra from PLL. I know he's a little older.
No.
What? Morgan is like,
no, I like it just fine. Ezra makes me cringe. Ezra from PLL. I can't get past him being a child predator. Right? That's all I got. Just like the vibes I always get with Ian Harding now. Like, oh, so you're a pervert.
And now it sounds like I'm for it. I'm really not. Okay, back to the situation at hand. Next character, Cleo. So Cleo was kind of the free-spirited artist friend. And she was described as having kind of quirky hairstyles and stuff like that. This isn't an actress, but she immediately came to my mind. Halsey.
Oh yeah,
for Cleo. So that's what I picked.
I had Zoe Kravitz, which I don't know how.
I love that.
Is.
No, she's a chameleon.
Yeah, she's
when it comes to age.
Seems young.
Yeah,
but I feel like she's a good few years older than I am. But I feel like she could play a good few years younger than I am.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I didn't even age check her. But
I don't think that's a problem at all. And then Cleo's girlfriend, Kimmy, I picked, she's described as being like quirky, full of energy, flowy blonde hair. I picked Chloe Grace Moretz.
I did Madeline Ford, who was like a model turned TikToker turned podcaster.
Oh yeah, do you have a picture of her? Handy?
I can pull one up. And I forgot while I was going on my tangent, I didn't have mine for parts, so while I'm pulling this up, I can say I had.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's my fault. I did Taylor Lautner for parts.
Oh, okay. Perfect. He's a podcaster.
I know he's got his podcast. I wasn't sure if he's still acting too.
I don't know. He seems pretty busy with his podcast, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And this cutie little white.
Yeah.
Drawing.
Oh, I recognized her.
Yeah. So we'll input it.
Yeah. I recognized her. So we highly recommend this book as a palate cleanser. That's how we used it. And overall enjoyed it. So
yeah, it's a quick, enjoyable read. I stay off of Reddit, like if you want to read the reviews for it.
Really?
I was so upset by how critical they were about like such like nitpicky things. It's just
like as far as
like
the writing itself,
style, like the character development, and like critical like of the choices they made, which like obviously we were a little too, but like critical in a hateful way, where we're just like gonna take care of yourself, girlfriend, like way.
Oh, so they were unhappy with the ending of Harriet leaving her surgical residency. Okay. I can see it, but again, we're just not really the type of people who are gonna be extremely hateful about a book. If we don't like it, we're just gonna move on. We'll comment on it, but we're just gonna move on.
Yeah. So I love Reddit for so many things. I find myself disappointed every time I go to like read like book reviews.
Yes.
So I need to stop doing that. But it's also just like a habit to go there for anything.
It's nice. It's nice to seek out, differing opinions.
Yeah. They're just so people.
I know.
Like it was such like an enjoyable read. I don't think it's like a literary masterpiece or to be reading in 150 years, but not every book's supposed to be.
No, absolutely.
And this wasn't one that was like designed that way, but I feel like they put it against that lens.
And I do feel like the fact that Emily Henry's having a pretty big moment, I feel like people love to join in on that bandwagon as well. So always keep that in mind, everyone, that, people love to join others that have an opinion that isn't very nice.
Yeah. I feel like it's like cool to not like what people like. It's not, I don't think, but some people think it is. And if that's where you're at in life, that's okay too.
All right. Well, we are planning on reviewing A Funny Story by Emily Henry, so stay tuned for that. And then we are also planning on reading the other books we haven't read by her, so stay tuned. And we are excited for her new release. And
we'll start maybe try to schedule these out for the week after we do a heavy episode, because we have a lot of heavy books to go through. So it'll be a palate cleanser for us, palate cleanser for you guys. We started off pretty heavy with our past few episodes, so we'll be a little strategic with our scheduling.
Okay, until next time.
Thanks for joining us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the book if you've read it.
See you later.
Bye.